Wedding Shenanigans. It was my best friend Luke's wedding when I was running late. To put it more accurately, my boyfriend Charlie was taking ages to get ready and I was shouting at him non-stop. I was a very punctual person, so it ticked me off when a person made me late. That, coupled with my boyfriend's tendency to run late, resulted in fights at least once a week. I could not help it, really. I was just too organized. Had I just been a guest at the wedding, I would have been a bit more understanding towards him, but I was the wedding planner. I had been in the business long enough to know that there was always something going wrong at the wedding. Every moment I spent away from the wedding meant risking a crisis. I checked my phone again to see if there was a message from my assistant Susie about the wedding. Sure enough, there were several messages from her. I quit shouting at Charles for a moment and read them. The flower girl refuses to do her job because she did not get any heels. One of the aunties is asking if there is a vegan menu. The makeup artist is late. Oh no, this is a disaster, I screamed. Luckily at that moment, my number one nemesis got out of the bedroom. He was looking really hot, but I had no time to drool over him. I had work to do. Finally, I thought that you had flown off on a magic carpet. Come on, let's go, I said, dragging him by his sleeve. He protested all the way, saying something about me ruining his suit, but I was hardly paying attention. I was in my zone. So then we got into the car and I started driving. At this point, I did not care much about getting a speeding ticket. I would deal with that later. I speed through the road so fast, I could have been part of the cast of Fast and the Furious, because I certainly was fast and I most definitely was furious. Luckily, my boyfriend was quiet most of the ride and did not do anything to patronize me further. That was the thing I loved the most about him. He was very patient and understanding. He knew how it felt like to run around like a headless chicken trying to fix 1,000 problems, because he was a fashion designer. I was curious about how he managed to keep his cool most of the time. I could see that he was stressed most of the time, but he never complained or took it out on me. He always made sure to bring a positive attitude home at all times, and that is what I loved about him. We arrived at the venue in record time, and I flew in to save the day. The wedding had not even begun yet, and the guests were only due in an hour, so that meant I still had time to solve the 1,000 problems I had. I can help if you need me. There is nothing to do anyways than sit in the venue while waiting for everyone else to arrive, he said, squeezing my hand. Thank you so much, light of my life. What would I do if not for you? I said, giving him a quick peck on the lips. On the way over, I had reached out to an old contact of mine and rented some high heels for the flower girl. I tasked Charlie with waiting for the delivery. I then asked Susie to email the aunt of the bride to confirm that there were vegan options available on the menu. After that, I went on to try and solve my last problem, which was the makeup artist. After some trial and error, I got hold of her, and it turns out that she had forgotten about the appointment. She had somehow managed to double book herself, but luckily for us, she was near enough to come a few minutes later. After this, I got confirmation from Charlie that the shoes have arrived, and he had given them to the flower girl, who stopped sulking after she saw them. Susie got back to me to tell me that there were no further problems with the menu. So then, everything was ready and I had 30 minutes to spare. The guests had just started arriving, so all I had to do was make sure the sitting arrangements went well. There was nothing worse than asking someone to move because that was not their allocated seat. I was just walking down the hallway when suddenly I was pulled into a room. I was about to scream because I thought I was being kidnapped, but luckily I saw who it was. I mean, no one could blame me. I had watched enough true crime documentaries not to panic. I held my hand to my heart to calm it down, but it spiked further when I finally looked at him. I had been so busy with work that I had not noticed how gorgeous my man looked. He wore an expensive black tuxedo with a beautiful shoe to match. His long dark hair had been tied in a ponytail, and he was freshly shaven. His scent was very musky and intoxicating. Gosh, what was this man doing to me? I had been trying to calm my racing heart, but now it was spiking up even more. "Hey there, lover," he whispered, looking me up and down appreciatively. "Babe, why did you pull me away?" The sitting range, I got cut off by a deep, slow kiss. I love these slow, sensual kisses too much. They were so much more meaningful. We had been together for more than 3 years, but he still gave me butterflies to this day. I think that is when you know it's real. He ran his fingers through my hair while pulling me closer. He did not break the kiss until we both ran out of air to breathe. Reluctantly, we broke apart, breathless. His cheeks were bright pink, and his blue eyes sparkled like stars at midnight. He gazed at me with eyes clouded with lust, and I was under his spell. He looked good enough to eat today. I went in again. Our movements were a bit more frantic and desperate as we knew that he did not have much time. I sneaked a hand into his shirt and began touching him. He groaned into my mouth as I touched him, and that made me smile in triumph. He was making that sound because of me. I was the one who put a smile on his face. I was the one he loved, and I was the only one who made him feel this way. He was my counterpart, my perfect balance, and the one who ignited me. We had lost track of time and were getting so into it that we both jumped when the door opened. Susie blushed as she took in our disheveled state. We jumped away from each other and started to fix our appearances. His hair had slipped from his bun, and I was sure that I did not look any better. "I'm sorry to interrupt, sir. I can come back later," she said softly while avoiding both our glances. I felt a bit embarrassed myself. I was usually so stern and professional, so it was really strange to be in such a situation with her. "No, it's okay. What do you need?" I asked, composing myself and putting it on a strictly professional tone. "Well, the thing is that there seems to be a problem. Two of the groom's cousins who do not like each other seem to have been placed next to each other," she said. "How is that an emergency though? I'm sure they can handle being next to each other for a short period of time." I frowned. "But that's the thing. It is Samantha and Catherine," she said. My eyes widened at the names. Those two were mortal enemies to the core. Their dislike for each other was notorious. If those two even spoke for 2 minutes, surely there would be a huge brawl and they would cause a scene. My gosh, that is a recipe for disaster. "Babe, I will have to love and leave you. You know those two. If I did not sort it out, then there will be trouble." "Of course, babe. Go do what you have to do," he said. Susie and I went to the main hall to sort everything out. The lad I had hired for decor had truly outdone herself. The theme had been white and gold. The guest chairs were white with some intricate gold designs. The aisle was a white carpet with golden flowers littered on it. The majority of the guests had taken their seats, and my other workers were seating the rest. I spotted the two troublemakers instantly. They were both redheads, much to their chagrin. It was pretty hilarious how they loathed each other, yet looked so much alike. They seemed to be making small talk, but not arguing yet. I went to stand by their seats. "Hey girls, looking fab. How are we doing?" I chirped cheerfully. "Awesome, thank you. Just feeling a bit drained," Samantha said, glaring at Catherine. "Same actually. There seems to be a negative vibe coming from somewhere, and quite frankly, it has been there since I sat down here," she said sweetly. "Oh, spit it out. Stop speaking in riddles. It is evident that you have a problem with me being invited to this wedding." "Well, tough luck," Samantha scoffed. Oh dear, it was beginning. If I did not do something, then there was nothing that could save us all. "Hey Kathy, I saw Jeremy take a seat over there," I said, pointing in the direction of the guy she had been pursuing at the moment. "Oh no, if only my seat was over there. I don't suppose you could arrange something, can you?" she said, giving me puppy dog eyes. The evil genius in me laughed on the inside, but on the outside, I pretended as if I was considering it for a moment. "I mean, I'm sure I can arrange something. I think that the seat on his right does not have an occupant. Let me just check my sitting chart quickly." I quickly checked it, knowing full well that Auntie Rebecca had a work emergency so she could not attend. "My, it seems we are in luck," I smiled at her. She squealed and practically jumped from her seat. I took her to the place where Jeremy was seated, and the problem was solved. The wedding song started playing, so I went to take my seat at the front of the hall. The bride, who was called Alina, was quite a vision in a beautiful princess gown designed by the one and only Charlie. He and I were a power couple to be reckoned with. I know a lot of people are against mixing business with pleasure, but he and I made it work. We were so good at our jobs that people usually hired both of us for weddings. Alina walked down the aisle accompanied by her dad. He had a few tears on his face as he was giving away his only daughter. My friend Eric was mesmerized by her. No one could doubt that he was completely and utterly in love with her. She reached the end and came to stand in front of the hall. I'm pretty sure that the vows were great, but I could hardly concentrate. Someone was kicking my shoes from behind me. I snuck a look behind me, ready to quietly ask the person to stop. I caught the eye of my boyfriend, who was smiling like the Cheshire Cat. I smiled, widely amused by his shenanigans. I turned back around to the front. Suddenly, my phone vibrated a text. Babe, can't stop thinking about you. Me. You have to, LOL. We need to focus. Babe. But I keep thinking about what would have happened if we had not been interrupted. Me. Okay, now I am curious. What would have happened? Babe, I'm not sure I want to tell you. You did say that you wanted to concentrate on the wedding. Me. Come on, I'm already invested. You cannot leave me high and dry. I want to know what you were thinking. Babe, how about I show you later? Me. I'll hold you to it. I put my phone back into my pocket and went back to focusing on the wedding. It was a beautiful wedding, to be honest. Despite the hiccups at the beginning, nothing else went wrong. After the bride and groom were officially married, it was time for the dance. They danced to their favorite song, which was Beating Heart by Ellie Goulding. Soon the dance floor was open to couples, so naturally, I gravitated towards him like I always did. We slowly waltzed while gazing into each other's eyes. It struck me how much we had it easy. There were so many people who could not be with their loved ones, yet here we are. Nowadays, relationships were temporary. People were impatient with their partners and persecuted them for every small flaw. They were not willing to work through things. They thought everything came on a silver platter. Charlie was not perfect, despite the way I raved about him. He had his flaws. He was always late for starters, and he also had a habit of getting too caught up in his work. He was passive-aggressive at times, which riled me up more times than I could count. But through all of this, I loved him more than life itself. After the dancing, the food was served and it was very good. The reason why I was one of the most popular wedding planners was that I did not under any circumstances compromise on quality. The food was delicate and tasty as well. Soon we had to make our wedding speeches. I had prepared something short and sweet, which went, I'm so happy that the day has come for you both to tie the knot. Alina, thank you for stealing this troublesome guy from us. Everyone laughed. On a more serious note, I wish you all the best in your marriage. I believe that the both of you are meant for each other. Cheers. I said, then drank a bit more of my wine. I was starting to feel tipsy, and when I was tipsy, I suddenly acted as if Charlie had my kidney. I looked around for him, but I could not find him. Eric came up to me as I was looking for my love. Hey man, thank you for organizing my wedding. It was truly the most beautiful day of my life, he said, hugging me. Sure man, you know I would do anything for you, I said. Here, open this later, he said, handing an envelope to me. I frowned at the brown envelope with my and Charlie's names. There you are, I've been looking for you for ages. Charlie suddenly appeared beside me. Thank you so much, man. Unfortunately, we both have to go. Enjoy your honeymoon, I said, then we parted ways. Charles and I were home in record time. We were both very heated up and we wanted each other very badly. We burst through the door of our apartment and made our way to the bedroom. He laid me on the bed and started slowly undressing me. He kissed every part of my body that he exposed. I started taking off his clothes too. I was sad to see the tuxedo leave his body, but I was glad to see what lay beneath. We made out passionately, savoring each other's bodies as if for the last time. We had not been intimate for a few weeks due to the conflicting schedules, so you can imagine the sexual tension that we had both built up. Gosh, I miss your body so much, he said. He then proceeded to bite my lip a bit. I moaned from the sweet pain he inflicted on me. It was too much to handle and I wanted him now. We then made love. It was slow, passionate, and intense, and I liked every second of it. We pretty much burned the sheets with our passion for quite some time. Soon, we collapsed next to each other, breathless but satisfied. We lay there in silence for a while, savoring the moment. Hey, I have something to ask you, he said. Sure, what's up? I asked. "I think we need to be sitting for this," he said. So then we got dressed and went to sit on our lounge. He looked me in the eyes and began speaking. "From the moment I met you, I felt a spark like no other. You have made me a better person over the past 3 years, and I want to be yours forever," he said. He then got down on his knees. "Will you marry me?" he asked as he brought out a beautiful diamond engagement ring. "Yes," I instantly said, and he put the ring on my finger. I then jumped up and down in excitement, and he did too. It was the happiest day of my life thus far. "I think it's time to open Eric's envelope," he smirked. I went to get it and ripped it open. Inside were 2 tickets to Mauritius. I screamed up and down with so much glee. Things could not get better. I was getting married to the love of my life, and we were going on a holiday to Mauritius. To be continued. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.